In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Okay. So tonight I'm here with Frank Johnson. He's one of the administrators of the Religion of Arms, and he's also part of the leadership team of the Liberty First Foundation, along with myself. I'm Mike Marshall, and tonight we're going to just kind of hash over what we've done in the last few months. The Religion of Arms has been started up since March of 2018, and Frank, since you've been a member of it pretty much the entire time, what's some of the things that you've seen happen with Religion of Arms?
Well, first thing I noticed that I could say was what started out more or less as an organization based just on people expressing their love of guns and their love of the Second Amendment has really taken on a life of its own. It's become probably the fastest growing active Second Amendment page on the entirety of Facebook. I've seen a lot of people establish nice relationships with one another, a lot of great debates, a lot of lively exchanges. People have actually used the page to help organize their own individual efforts to try and institute various changes in the positive sense as far as the Second Amendment within their own states. And, we took a lot of cues from what everybody was doing and made it grow into something that was far beyond what we had originally intended on it being. And that is a national movement. And I'm very happy for myself, at least, that not only have I been here since day one, but that I've established so many good friendships with so many people along the way.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. The friendships that I've developed since being a member of the Religion of Arms have just been tremendous. Gotten to know some great people all across this country and some very passionate people about the Second Amendment. Some of the things that we're looking at in the future is we've kind of branched off and set up a political portion in the Liberty First Foundation, and that is also growing just about as fast as the Religion of Arms has grown. Some of the things that we're looking at getting more involved with is some local activism within our communities. What's some of the things that you see that could be happening as well in the future with the Liberty First Foundation?
Well, I noticed that a lot of people have taken a lot of initiative as far as addressing some of the challenges that our elected representatives have been coming up with as far as what various gun control measures they want to institute. And a lot of things that they're trying to put in, whether they've passed or not, our membership has really spoken up and been extremely vocal about it. They've gone to meetings, they've confronted their legislators, their congresspeople, their senators, and they've done it of their own free volition. But a lot of them may not have been able to do it if we didn't have the Liberty First Foundation as a community guiding them and letting them know what's happening in some of these states. There's so many of these things get introduced as a legislative bill that gets attached to something else that most of us don't even know happen, because the bill is not ever established as to say, hey, this is a gun control measure. It's something completely different. They'll say, oh, this is a fundraising apparatus for this, and then some legislator will come in and attach some little gun control caveat inside the bill, and it doesn't ever get reported on. They report on one side of the picture, but not on the other. And we have a lot of members in various states that have gone and taken the time, read through the proposed legislation, let us know exactly what was going on, and we've helped organize them to get together and go to these events, go to these rallies, go to town hall meetings, and let their voices be heard. And we've been very fortunate that in some cases it has brought enough light to some of these things where those pieces of legislation have died on the vine. However, we have a lot of states like what happened in Washington with 1639, where it was sold as one type of bill of goods and passed and signed into law, and the public didn't really have any knowledge of what it was, not because of their own ignorance of the law, but because without an honest media reporting on what's in these pieces of legislation, the general public doesn't have access to it. So a lot of times these things get passed, and the only thing that we can do is sit back and then try to turn back the hands of time and fight it on a different level. You know, whether try and have the law amended, because people don't know until we actually start having victims of that piece of legislation, like what happened in New York with the SAFE Act. You know, they give it this little acronym SAFE, you know, and it's supposed to, you know, be appealing to the ear, but they don't realize that what it basically did was took 8 million gun owners in the state of New York and turned them all into felons. If you have a magazine that has more than 10 rounds, you're a felon. If you have an AR-15 rifle that has a pistol grip, you're a felon. If you have a bayonet lug on your Mini 14, you're a felon. Nobody knew these things were happening when they passed that law. And now we have a lot of people who've been paying the price for it, for something that was legal 4 years ago is illegal now. And we still don't know the extent of the damage that that law is creating, because every week we find somebody else that's being arrested coming out of a firing range or coming back from a hunting trip. And unbeknownst to them, they're committing some sort of a felonious act that they didn't even know was a violation. And part of it is a lot of people just do not understand what's in these laws because the politicians are not trying to sell them as gun control measures. They're being sold as a gun safety measure. And it's not what it is. Our red flag legislation that's being passed all around the country, it's not a bill designed to make people safe. It's a matter of making a bill that gets control of the guns and controls the people. So what's sold is one thing. You know, people might find themselves in line for it, but it turns out that it's not what they intended that law to be. It never was.
No, I completely agree. Actually, I'm a huge opponent to red flag legislation. I think that's one of the most widely abused, one of the biggest abuses of power there is it comes in this red flag legislation. It literally creates secret police forces across this nation. And if we look throughout history, whenever we have a secret police force, the next thing that comes is tyranny. It's just a matter of time before that happens.
Yeah, and it's going to happen a lot quicker. The more states that adopt these kinds of pieces of legislation, the worse it's going to get, because people don't necessarily know how that red flag legislation is going to trigger other things in the law. And I'll give you, for instance, this was something that Mike Vasquez, who's one of our New York State chapter leaders, was able to bring to our attention when he did an extensive amount of research on the red flag laws, was that when they issue a warrant and they come to your house, whether day, night, whether you're at work or asleep, and they come in to take your firearms out of your house, and you don't have any ability at that time to plead your case to a judge, that red flag law also throws up another flag that people aren't aware of, and that's with Child Protective Services. Whenever a warrant is issued for a house and the police department comes there, whether it's the sheriff's office, the state police, or a local municipality, when they show up at your house, a report goes out to Child Protective Services that says that there was a dangerous condition at that house. Well, once the police department leaves with your firearms and you're standing there without a way of defending your family, the next knock at the door is going to be from Child Protective Services, and it's going to be some court-appointed individual coming to take control of your children. And then your children will be placed in a foster home. They'll become wards of the state until your case is adjudicated. And in most cases, the complaint that's being lobbed against you is being done anonymously. So you don't have the means of being able to defend your point, defend yourself in a court of law, because you're already being subjected to the punishment before you've ever been charged with a crime. And that is a complete violation of the due process system that we've had in this country for 250 years.
Well, that's one of the biggest things in the Constitution. The Constitution says that you have the right to confront your accusers, and when it says against you. And they totally bypass that by issuing these red flag writs and warrants without any due process. You may, in a week to 2 weeks, get a chance to have a hearing if it doesn't get postponed or extended. In some of these cases, they can extend those out past a year. Okay, that entire time, you don't have a chance to prove your case or plead your case. Okay, in the meantime, Child Protective Services has custody of your children because now you can't refute it because you can't go to hearing. So it's a lose-lose situation all the way around. But not only that, it's just a matter of time before they start enacting this legislation on something else.
All right. Well, this
Going
is
out and buy cooking utensils. Okay.
yeah. Well, the red flag laws that they reach into so many different areas that are, forget gray parts of the law. We're talking about black parts of the law.
Right.
These little unspoken corners, because when you start getting to this point where you have an unknown faceless bureaucrat making a decision as to whether or not you can exercise your constitutional rights, they can use whatever information they want at their disposal to deny them. And now we have this one New York State senator down in New York City who's been introducing this password legislation.
Right.
If nobody's familiar with the password legislation, what this guy wants to do is he wants anybody who's applying for, renewing, or going in to purchase a pistol to give over to the state police a copy of all of your social media identification names, with your login information for Facebook, if MySpace was still a thing, MySpace or Snapchat or Twitter, along with all of your passwords, because they want to go in and review back 3 years of your social media history to find out whether or not you've made any sort of commentary on any policy that they can deem was violent in nature or that would make you suspect of being a danger to the population.
Right.
Now, the problem with that, aside from it being a violation of your privacy, aside from it being a situation where it chills free speech entirely, because now nobody is going to want to be able to say anything. Everyone is going to want to just post up cat memes all day long and just hope that they're not offensive. But it creates a situation where it's not a matter of them getting on and looking at your public persona. They want to be able to get in and look at all your private correspondences. If you send pictures back and forth with your significant other, or you send messages back and forth with anybody in your family, anybody with your business relationships, they want access to all of that. The problem comes in when, I'll give you an example. If I corresponded with a friend of mine from high school that I haven't seen in 25 years, but we've been in contact with one another for 10 years on Facebook. Now, I don't know this person personally for the last 25 years since we've seen each other, but we've had an electronic relationship for a period of time.
Right.
And most like anybody else, what we keep in our private lives is stuff that we keep off Facebook. Who's to say that that individual doesn't have some sort of history that I'm not aware of? Right. They have some affiliations that I'm not aware of. They run in circles that I would never run in. But because I have an association with this person, that is more than enough grounds for them to turn around and say, well, you've been known to run with, to have exchanges with somebody who may or may not be a racist, who may or may not be a bigot, may or may not be a white supremacist, or is sympathetic to a terrorist organization. We have no idea what people do in their private lives. But because I may have hey, it was great, how did the reunion go? I have a simple exchange like that. Now, all of a sudden, I'm now an associate of that person.
Well, not only that, okay. Let's put it, for instance, you and I are having a conversation across Facebook, okay, on a messenger, okay, and I go in and I go to purchase a firearm, whatever, long gun, or get a handgun permit or whatever, and they do that search, okay. The conversation that you thought was completely private is now in the public domain. Okay. So you had an expectation of privacy in that conversation. But because I decided to go get a permit, your rights are totally violated. A conversation you thought was private and between you and I and nobody else is now out there in the public because of this legislation.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous situation. 25 years ago, we wouldn't have had these problems because we didn't have the advent of all of these technologies at our disposal.
Right.
Where the world has really gotten, it has shrunk to 1/100th of its actual size.
Right.
You know, the small world scenario is more and more relevant every day. You know, we have friends on Facebook from Istanbul, from Guyana, from all over the world because you share a mutual interest with that person. You may associate with someone for that purpose. But if that person in their private life does or says something that is contrary to what the powers that be deem as being acceptable, it's going to reflect back on us. Now, part of the problem is we also don't know who's going to be making these judgment calls.
Right.
We don't know who the arbiter of acceptable and unacceptable is going to be because the state police is not going to sit there and review millions of applications for pistol permits. They're not going to do it. So they're going to
get contracted.
They're going to have some organizational system set up where they have a bunch of people sitting in a room reviewing social media histories that don't have any basis or background in law, that don't have any background in law enforcement or legal expertise or anything. They're just going to say, well, this is something fishy, and they're going to throw up a flag, and then your civil rights are denied.
Right.
Your civil rights are denied. Your children are gone. You've spent tens of thousands of dollars on a lawyer trying to get back your reputation and be back in the good graces. And the other thing that people don't realize too is what's going to happen when those people come to your house and take your guns, and then you decide that you have a vacation 3 months from now and you have to jump on a American Airlines jet out of JFK to go somewhere, and you show up at the airport and find out that you're on a no-fly list.
Right. No, it's ridiculous. Okay, the amount of damage that can be done with this type of legislation is a lot further reaching than it is just with gun ownership.
Well, that's because
people do not understand that.
Well, it comes down to, again, the old premises. They talk about it as being gun control, and it's not gun control. It's people control.
Right.
It's freedom control.
Right.
They want to be able to regulate everything that you think, say, and do so that you conform within a mold that they can control, and they can dictate to you what's acceptable and what is not.
Right.
And the biggest threat to that level of control is the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Is because so long as the American people have the ability to defend themselves, defend their families, and defend their property, you're not going to have the politicians who write the red flag laws be the ones showing up at your door, knocking at 3 a.m. saying, okay, hand over that AR. No, they're going to send somebody else's child to your house.
Right.
They're going to send a trooper. They're going to send some state officer to show up at your house, because they don't have to worry about sullying their hands with doing the dirty work.
Right.
They are completely unresponsible for what happens. Right. So if in the event comes like that one gentleman in Maryland who didn't want to give up his guns and got into a shootout, gentleman lost his life.
Right.
Because he didn't want to give up his guns. What's going to happen when more Americans lose their lives? It's never going to reflect back on the people that wrote the legislation. It's always going to come back against the Second Amendment community. And people are going to say, well, you just should have given up your guns. Well, right. You might as well give up the last breath you have in your lungs, because if they can take away your fundamental rights and your fundamental freedoms, there's nothing in the world that says that they can't take everything else away from you.
Well,
it was said a long time ago that a government large enough to give you everything is large enough to take it all away. And that's what we're seeing now.
Exactly. Okay, and the thing is it's going way beyond the Second Amendment. It's affecting the entire Constitution. Okay, it's violating pretty much every amendment there is in the Bill of Rights. It's violating amendments after the Bill of Rights. It's violating multiple sections of the Constitution itself. Okay, multiple articles. And if we look at a lot of these legislations, they're also violating the state constitutions, not just the United States Constitution. So as a result, that's one of the things that we have to do, and then we have to really work on is educating the people. Now, one of the best ways that we can do that is by increasing our ranks and increasing the numbers of members that we have in our organizations. We have something that we're planning on doing here in the not too distant future over the summer. You want to give us an announcement on what's getting ready to happen and how you think that's going to help the Liberty First Foundation and the Religion of Arms?
All right. Well, a couple of months ago, as you know, the viewers might not know this as of yet, we started kicking around the idea of trying to formulate an event, something that all of the members in the Liberty First Foundation, the Religion of Arms, and every other Second Amendment community out there could participate in. Something that we could use to show the rest of the civilized world just who the people in the Second Amendment community are, to try and paint a picture of us with a palette of color rather than a broad brush in one. So we decided that what we would try to do was organize something that we're calling National Range Day. And what we're doing is we're enlisting as many ranges, gun clubs, and facilities where people can go shooting for the day to all participate in National Range Day. And what we want to do is have every range basically hold an open house where they will invite members of the community to come to their range, learn about gun safety, learn about gun handling, learn about the differences between different kinds of firearms, and meet the people who are actively involved in the Second Amendment community. Whether it's your doctor, your lawyer, your dentist, your carpenter, your waiter, your waitress, the guy who picks up your garbage, all of the people that people don't necessarily associate as being gun-owning Americans are gun-owning Americans.
Right.
And we want to be able to have the public at large come to an event that's local to them and participate in America's, the first of its kind, National Range Day, where we will have at least 100 ranges across the 50 states participate in National Range Day, where they will be able to come, the regular civilians will be able to come, learn about the Second Amendment, learn about the firearms, and participate in some of the shooting sports that those ranges generally host. Whether it's an outdoor range or an indoor range, a lot of these ranges have a series of events that they usually hold on their own, whether it's trap shooting, skeet shooting, bullseye competitions, rifle competitions, all of the sport shooting that we as gun owners participate in normally. We want the general public to be able to come and participate. Not only is it a matter of educating themselves on what we do in the Second Amendment community, but how they too can be a part of it.
Right.
And how they can be a part of it locally. And the big thing that we want to do is a live broadcast. Every range that's going to be a participant in National Range Day, a representative of the Liberty First Foundation or the Religion of Arms will be in attendance at the range that day. And with them, they are going to bring either a computer or a cell phone and are going to do a Facebook Live broadcast that will be hosted on the Liberty First Foundation Facebook page, the Religion of Arms Facebook page, and the 54 other pages that the Liberty First Foundation has already established on Facebook, so that we can flood the entirety of the internet with Americans exercising their Second Amendment rights.
Right.
And just show exactly what the broad spectrum of people who exercise those rights are.
This is a huge undertaking, and I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a huge event. But one of the things that we need most is we need our members to take a stand and get involved and get us the names of the ranges so we can reach out and contact them so we can get them on board for this event. We need our members to help us get people in place so we can get them on board to provide these live videos.
Well, that's one of the things that we did way back when we started advertising on the Religion of Arms, that we were looking for people who could take up the responsibility, pick up the mantle of being a state leader. This was one of the things that we had in mind as to why we needed people to be secreted in every corner of the country that would be willing to organize other people to go to rallies, go to events, and help us organize things so that when the time came for us to hold a national event, we would have at least 50 to 100 people that we could go to and say, here's a copy of our press release. We need you to go to your local ranges, contact your ranges, contact all of these people and get them on board with this, and then have the ranges participate in helping us advertise this event. Whether it's through your penny savers, your local news, get in contact with your local radio shows and try to get on their broadcast, get on your local TV stations, because this is going to be tremendous. This is going to be a first of its kind endeavor. This has never been done as far as I know. There's been other nationally held Second Amendment rallies where everybody has gone to their state capitol and held up a flag and held up a sign, but it always happened on a Saturday when none of the representatives were in their offices. All the representatives were back at home trying to figure out the next right they could take away from us.
No, exactly.
So this is an opportunity for us to hold a Second Amendment event on our own terms, to have it on our own terms, where we could go to places that we're comfortable, that we shoot at, that we participate in these events, that we bring our families to, and be able to broadcast it and say, listen, this is not, the Second Amendment community is not just a small conglomeration of people that run around in the backwoods, blowing stuff up. No, this is all of us. The Second Amendment is not just a right for gun owners. The Second Amendment is a right for every American.
Right. Exactly.
Whether or not you choose to exercise that right is your choice. But a lot of people don't exercise that right because they do not have the fundamental grasp of what the Second Amendment actually means. And they don't realize how big this family is. If they knew that the next door neighbor of yours is a guy who actively shoots on weekends, they might find that they want to participate. They might not realize that half of their coworkers are gun owners.
Well, not only that, okay, the Second Amendment community is portrayed so negatively in mainstream media. And this is one of our ways of being able to counter that, to actually allow people to put faces with who are part of the Second Amendment. And we can't do that by waving flags in front of a Capitol. We have to be able to do that by reaching out to our neighbors, by reaching out to our friends and getting people to the ranges. And this is one way that we can do that. But again, we can't do this alone. We have to have people step up. They have to get us in touch with these ranges. They have to take initiative and become a leader in their states. And we have to have people reaching out. And they can reach out to myself, they can reach out to Frank or Austin or Tyler, any one of the four of us at any time, and just step up and say, hey, I want to start taking action. I want to help the Second Amendment.
Right. But when you look at what the Religion of Laws and the Liberty First Foundation is, there's 4 or 5, maybe 6 people that over the long run have really built the organization up to where it is today.
Right.
And we have gotten a tremendous amount of assistance from a writing team, moderators, welcoming committees, all different people that have really gone an extra mile to invest dozens upon dozens of their own hours.
No, they've been incredible.
The level of volunteership that we've seen from regular people is outstanding. Okay, it's incredible to me that these people have become so devoted to the cause.
Right.
They live and breathe the Second Amendment. And any one of these people, and most of them are people that are so far-flung across the country that I probably may not ever have the opportunity to actually shake their hand and say thank you in person. But every one of them is a brother and sister to me.
Oh, exactly.
Every single one of them is a friend and is somebody that I know that if the circumstances ever came to be, I could put my life in their hand and I know that I would come out okay. And they know that they could do the same with me.
Right.
I trust every one of these people. And we have a tremendous amount of resources. Everybody says, well, what is the Religion of Laws going to do for our rights? We can't do anything for your rights without you stepping up and doing something for your rights.
Well, that's it exactly.
And you have to help us help you. We can only do so much. We can only organize so much from where we are. I can't tell you the thousands of hours that we have spent not only sitting at the computer, but making phone calls, driving to different locations, meeting and greeting people. The amount of funds that we have exhausted of our own pockets to be able to go out and do the things that we're trying to do to make sure that we have some foundation of the Second Amendment that will never be chiseled away at. Well, the foundation is there, but we need the members of this organization to help us reinforce the house.
That's it exactly. Okay. There's only so much we can do. Okay. We can provide the organization and so forth. But when it comes down to it, the only one that can protect your rights is yourself. Okay. I can't protect Frank's rights. It's up to Frank to protect his rights. Just like Frank can't protect my rights. It's up to me. Because when it comes down to it, when my rights are being violated, Frank's not going to be there. Okay? It just physically can't be there. So he can't help me out when my rights are being violated. So it's up to me.
But on the flip side of that is every time your rights are violated, so are mine.
Exactly.
It was every single person in every one of these groups. Whenever one of us suffers the indignity of having our rights being taken away or infringed upon, it's another example of how it could just as easily be that other person.
Well, exactly. And that's why we all have to take a stand. Okay? The time for us sitting back and waiting for organizations like the National Rifle Association, Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, even Liberty First Foundation or Religion of Arms to stand up and take action for us has gone. It's now up to the individuals. Organizations like the ones I just described are just that. They are organizations. They organize people. Okay? But if they don't have the people to organize, they can't do much of anything. And that's where it takes bodies. It takes people. It takes people taking action. And you can only do that by getting involved.
Right. And the same way the government operates, when people talk about government, they think of this omnipotent, all-knowing, nameless, faceless group. Okay? Put your faith in government. What is government going to do? Government is people. And government is people that are just as fallible and motivated for whether that motivation is good, bad, or indifferent as anybody else's group is. Okay? The government is nothing more than an organization. It's an organization that we, the people, have given a certain amount of power to be able to do their one thing that they're supposed to do, and that's protect the rights that are in the Constitution and to protect us. What we've allowed to have happen is that government has decided to figure out a way how to put the Bill of Rights and the Constitution aside and figure out how, instead of protecting us and protecting our rights, how they could control us by denying our rights. And that's something that has to stop. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to show just how strong and united the Second Amendment community really is. And that's not by joining an organization. It's not by paying somebody some dues or having some lobbyist go to some group and hobnob with the well-to-do and the powers that be. It's to get out there and be active, to be vocal, to get to events that are set up and show your body there. Participate in an event that is bigger than you, because the Second Amendment is bigger than all of us.
Exactly.
And that's why we've established National Range Day. And the biggest thing that we need from our members right now, from everybody who's watching, is for you to go out, go to the Liberty First Foundation and comment on us and let us know that you're willing to try to lead the charge, to be in your community, that you need to be active, that you are going to reach out to different ranges and demand that they participate in what we're doing. Show them the benefits. We're going to have a page on the website very soon that's going to have a very detailed point-by-point analysis of what Range Day is and what it's going to encompass. It may vary from range to range because some ranges have either indoor shooting events, outdoor shooting events, or a combination thereof. So there are going to be certain limitations that a range has, but every range is going to be able to open their doors to the public. every range is going to be able to do some sort of participation and get people to come in, whether that range gets 200 people to come through the door or 2 people to come through the door. That is still going to be accounted for. We want to let people know what we're doing.
And even if it's only 2 people, that's 2 people that may have never gone to a range without this opportunity.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how big or small the range is. The fact that we get the word out to the general public and start getting them involved. Most people don't know. They are misled continuously by the media, by the press. Okay? We have to start doing something to change that. Now, we've picked a fairly significant time of year for National Range Day. And you want to let everybody know when that is going to be, Frank?
Well, as much as we would have loved to have called it the Independence Day Range Day and have it on July 4th, we understood that a lot of people were going to be with their families and friends having their cookouts, and it was going to be on a Thursday. So we decided to have it on the next available day that people would more likely be off from work and be able to participate. And that was going to be July 6th, 2019. So that's just a little over 6 months from now that we'll have all of these ranges involved. Every range that's going to be involved will be set in stone probably by the middle of June. Of course, if any ranges want to come on after the fact, that's fine. But we have a couple of competitive events that we're going to be devising that are going to take place at National Range Day that are going to be a little bit time sensitive. So some of the materials for which are going to have to be at the ranges before the actual event, just so our supplier doesn't get overwhelmed with the amount of orders that he's going to be taking.
Exactly.
Do you want to tell everybody what our challenge is?
Well, one of the challenges that we are going to have is what's called the Liberty Bell Challenge. Okay. And this is very significant because when America got its freedom, they rang the Liberty Bell until it cracked. Okay. So we want to ring these bells until they crack. We want to ring the Liberty Bell as many times as we can on the 6th of July. So if you want to get involved with the Liberty Bell Challenge, it's going to be a timed event, and there's going to be 2 courses. There's going to be one for handguns, and there's also going to be one for rimfire rifles. And we're going to be coming out with the full details and rules for these events, and they will be posted at each participating range. But it's going to be an exciting thing that's going to happen. Now, the winners of each of these courses is going to take home a Liberty Bell trophy with their time and the range where they competed along with their name on the trophy. Also, each range that has won the champion or the top time will also receive a Liberty Bell plaque, signifying that that range produced the Liberty Bell Challenge winner for that course.
And here's the important part about the Liberty Bell Challenge. Unlike every other shooting event that we have that people participate in, everybody who shows up at one of these ranges on that day, all they're going to have to do is register up for the Liberty First Foundation newsletter so they can get updates and alerts on every time there's a new article or something newsworthy that comes out from the Liberty First Foundation. Once you register for that, if you are legally eligible to compete in the event, you'll be able to compete. There's not going to be a buy-in. There's not going to be, $10 to take a shot. Everybody gets one chance with rifle, one chance with a pistol. As long as you're legally able to participate in that event, you have the ability to compete and possibly become the Liberty Bell national champion in that division. And it is going to be something that's going to be a real source of pride because there's only going to be 2 champions nationwide, one for pistol and one for rifle. And each of the ranges that host the champion that comes out of that range is also going to receive a plaque signifying it. And this is going to be something that we're going to repeat every year that we host National Range Day. And there may be a couple other things that come along the lines between here and there that we really can't divulge just yet, because, there's something about chickens and eggs and not counting them all the same time.
Exactly. No, we are working on a lot of other things, getting ready for National Range Day. But again, that's where we need people to step up and to help us get this organized and help get this going. Okay, we need people to get us in touch with ranges. Now, one of the best ways that you can let us know about ranges that are interested in doing this or to volunteer for this event is through our email address, which is going to be rangeday2019 at l1f.us.
And we also have the Liberty First Foundation Facebook page, where we have already created the event, and we will be publishing it on the 28th of December, which at the time this is being recorded, it will be published in approximately 5 hours. That we will publish it, and it'll be a pretty detailed list of exactly what Range Day is going to be. And what we're going to ask people to do with that event is to find one of the local ranges that they participate in shooting in and tag them in that event, so that that range becomes aware that that event is going to be taking place. And from there, either ourselves will be in touch with that range, or one of the people who is already a state chapter leader, or if you, whomever you may be, decide that you want to participate at a state chapter leadership level, you can contact us. We'll sit down with you for a few minutes, conduct a little bit of a 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 interview, just so we get a sense of who you are and whether or not you truly feel that you're committed enough to represent the organization and represent yourself to defend your rights. And you will be tasked with going out there and trying to help us organize this event, because this is not a matter of helping the Liberty First Foundation organize an event. This is a matter of the Liberty First Foundation needing you to help yourselves.
Exactly.
And we need you to help us to get to that point. We can't do anything without the participation and cooperation of our members. The only reason we are here is because of you. And the only reason you're watching this right now is because somewhere you find it important that you know deep down inside that your rights are at risk. And the organizations that are out there right now have not been coming to bat for you. So we are trying to fill that void at a local level, and we need your help to do it.
Exactly. Okay. Like I said, the time is gone for you to rely on somebody else to protect your rights. The time has come where you have to start taking action. Okay? You can't wait for somebody else to do it for you anymore. That time has passed.
Right.
Okay? And the only way we're going to take them back is by each of us taking action.
And if you really want to know the severity of the situation that we all find ourselves in right now, just think about the statement that was made not that long ago from the White House that said, first we'll take the guns and we'll worry about due process later. This cannot stand. No. This is not America. This is not the way any of us have been brought up. This is not the way that things are supposed to be. And we are facing a situation where every single one of us is being looked at with ire from the media, from the news organizations, from our politicians, that we are somehow the people that are the dangerous ones.
Right.
We're not. And we need to do something to change course of this ship so that they know that we are not going to go silently into that good night, that we are going to stand and we are going to fight and we are going to maintain our liberty. And the only way we can do that is unified. As a single stick, we could all be broken, but bundle them together, there's strength. We have to be strong and we have to stay together.
Exactly. And like I said, Frank can't do it for you. I can't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. So get involved. Again, that email address is rangeday2019 at l1f.us. or get a hold of us through the Liberty First Foundation Facebook page.
And remember also, if you get a chance, stop in and pick up a coffee mug. Not only is stylish, but they hold the beverage and they keep it hot, nice and long.
Exactly. Thank you and good night. And we will talk to you on the flip side.
Right. Everybody, thank you very much. Stay safe. Shoot straight. God bless.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers.
Senate rights, when politicians take from you and me the very liberties that set us free. So stand up and fight for this democracy as you and me were the founders. Saddle up, let's ride. Now will the real Americans please stand up? No more hiding your face in the sand.